Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the KeenGamer podcast. My name is Kyle, and I'm so excited to be here. Once again, I am joined by Mark. Mark, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm great. Thanks. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. So we had a really good first episode last week, our first episode kind of with the reboot of KeenGamer. I got lots of really good feedback, so I want to thank everyone who sent me a message or got a hold of me to tell me that they enjoyed the show. This week, we are back for more of the same. Oh, did you hear some stuff too, or no?
No, I didn't really. I'm kind of
Yeah.
in the dark here, so I'd love to
Yeah.
hear about all the feedback
No.
we got.
People are just excited that we are back recording, talking about games. People seem to like our opinions that we had last week. So,
That's good to know.
yeah, so we are back for more of the same. First of all, we're going to talk about games we are playing. I just want to touch up on the games from last week real quick. I did beat No More Heroes 3 a few days ago, and the more you get into that game, the crazier it gets. I think if you want to play a game for a story, you might want to avoid No More Heroes 3. It throws so much stuff against the wall near the end that I forgot what game I was playing multiple times.
It's
Any
like
any
a
character
mashup of all
arcs,
sorts.
yeah, it's a mashup. Like at one point, it turned into. I was talking last week about all the different styles in it, between flying in a Gundam suit to musical chairs. Near the end of the game, it turned into a turn-based RPG. It turned into a Smash Brothers clone. Like I said, there are a lot of ideas in here. I'm not sure how much of it is cohesive or like coherent narratively, but if you want something wacky and stupid and fun, I'd say go to No More Heroes for that.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
definitely try it out one day when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, I'd say if anything of what I said kind of intrigued you, I'd say go play the first No More Heroes game. And because I think you can get it for maybe $20 to $30 on Switch. They made a remaster of it recently. If you play that game and it doesn't tickle your fancy, maybe don't continue to number 3. But if you like what the first game is doing, forge ahead. You'll have a great time with number 2 and number 3 for sure.
Okay.
But the main game for this week I want to talk about, I started playing Kena, Bridge of Spirits. I believe it's out on PS4, PS5, and PC right now. And it is the debut game from a developer called Ember Labs. Ember Labs is primarily an animation studio, and I think they're mostly known for making a fake trailer to a Majora's Mask movie on YouTube a few years ago.
Oh, I think I may have seen that trailer and it got a lot of people excited, and I'm sure a lot of people were let down that it wasn't real.
Yeah, I think last time I looked on YouTube, I think that video had like 15 million views. Like it was really, really popular. So they are traditionally an animation studio, and this is their debut game.
Okay.
It is really, really good. As somebody who has recently gotten back into animated movies like Raya and the Last Dragon and Mitchell's versus the Machines, like this year has been really good for animated films, and I've been slowly watching more. Kena might be the best interactive animated movie I've ever played. So
So
it's a
it is
third.
more of a like interactive story kind of thing. I'm looking at it. It looks like there's a bunch of platforming and
Yeah. So like the story itself is highly detailed. All the cutscenes look absolutely amazing. I was taking screenshots. Like I took probably 10 screenshots within the first 5 minutes of this game because I was just capturing the way that grass moves and the ways that the trees look and stuff. But Kena is a third person action adventure game, and you play as the titular Kena. And you are somebody who I'm only about 3 or 4 hours into the game, and I'm pretty sure you play as a spirit guide. You're somebody who kind of helps those who are lost kind of reach their resting place or like their final destination, so their souls can rest easily. Um, and the story grabbed me right away. It's very reminiscent of like an old PS2 character-driven action adventure game, like one of the old
okay, so
Spyros, or even I'm trying to think of what else, like even like the Crash Bandicoot games from that era.
would you say it's like a more linear type game, or is there a bit of sort of freedom in it to drive the story? Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be a little bit more open world when I started playing it, but it's actually a little bit. It's pretty linear overall. you'll be dropped into kind of these large forests that, if you want to, you can explore for collectibles. Um, One of the main mechanics in this game is that you have these little friends named Rot, and these Rot are going to help you essentially take out the corruption that is taking over the world slowly. And you're going to find them hiding under rocks. You're going to find them almost like Pikmin, where they're hiding throughout the
Hmm.
world. And the more you find, the bigger your army is, and the stronger they are as a unit. I forgot what your question was.
Oh, I was just asking about if it was more linear or if there
Right.
was opportunity to explore the world and collectibles and things like that.
So yeah, they'll drop you into an open like forest, and they'll say if you want, you can go look for treasure. You can actually find little hats for your rot companions.
Oh, wow. That's
So
always good.
hats are always good. So you can customize them with like flowers or mushroom hats. One of them is actually wearing like a fox mask right now. That's pretty cool. But if you don't want to do any of that stuff, you can just continue with the story, which has been my main driving force to wanting to keep playing the game. Is that the story is just dropping kind of little pebbles of information the more I play, and it is making me more intrigued into what's going on, what is happening in this world, why is the world like this? Like an animated movie, I think it only succeeds if every part of it works well together. And so far, Kana is doing that. I want to shout out the music. The music is fantastic, whether you're exploring or in combat. It fits the mood so well, and it adds an intenseness to everything as well. Like I said, the animation is beautiful. The music, the combat is surprisingly difficult. When I'm talking about this being like a kids movie almost, I thought the combat would be relatively simple, but the more I'm playing it, the more I'm dying very, very often to what I'm feeling comfortable describing as like Dark Souls bosses almost.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hmm. Like this morning, I was fighting one, and without spoiling too much, it has one attack that will essentially it'll dash at you, it'll grab you with its claws, and it'll like take away half your health with
Oh,
that one
wow.
attack.
I hate that kind of boss.
So I've probably seen the game over screen over 10 times in about 3 hours of gameplay, 4 hours of gameplay. Um, but there are skill trees. So as you play more of it, you are enhancing your attack. You're adding more arrows to your inventory. And I'm going to say like probably after this podcast is done recording, I'm going to be hopping back into Kana and playing more of that game. I should also say as well, it's not a full priced game, which is very nice.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's about $10 cheaper than the usual like full priced MSRP game. So
Okay.
I
Reasonably
recommend
priced.
anybody check it out who hasn't yet. I'm playing it on PS5. And it's the load times are fantastic. Like I turned on the console, hit the game, and I was playing within 7-8 seconds.
Okay.
So it's doing everything really
Well,
well. It reminds me of almost stylistically of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
well,
So
definitely looks like intriguing, and the art style is really pretty. And yeah, well, I can't really say much about the music. I'd have to hear some of that for
mhm.
myself. But maybe
And
I'll jump on a stream somewhere and check it out before I, you know, take the plunge.
I recommend it. And like I was kind of saying, it reminds me of like those throwback PS2 action adventure games, like even like a Ratchet and Clank, like those older ones where you're kind of going through a world, you're getting collectibles, you're tapping your attack button to take down hordes of enemies. But there aren't that many of those kind of games today. Like,
Well, things are games. Well, we did have a stage where open world was, the kind of end game for everyone, and
mhm.
all games are moving in that direction. But I tend to appreciate these days more, story driven and even linear games. I don't mind a few different endings or whatever, but it seems like they're almost more respectful of your time. You're not going to sit and play a game for 60, 70 hours
Mhm.
just to get to the end where,
Which is
more
why it's
bite
really
sized.
nice. If you, like I said, if you want to go and get those collectibles, you can. Or if you want to push through the story, you totally can. And there probably won't be that many like penalties for not exploring. So the game really lets the player enjoy its world at their own pace. And if they want to be the completionist, or if they want to just kind of, tackle the story head on, which is very cool. I'll probably
Okay.
have more thoughts next week on it, but so far,
Okay.
I'm loving it.
Well, can't wait to hear what you think of that. As for me, is this week I kind of been in the mood for like one of those sort of big dumb shooters, and because I haven't finished it yet, I encountered some issues with the game crashing and stuff. But I jumped back
Mm.
into Serious Sam 4. I mean, it's quite a intense game, so yeah, like I don't really go for shooters that much, but it's quite old school, so it reminds you of that, you know, back in the day when Doom and Quake and all those games were like new and quite hot. So yeah, it's nice to have that old school feel. I guess in a way similar to Kano, where it's got a bit of a, well, not quite as old school feel. Just really jumping in and spamming aliens and with bullets and giant guns and just going crazy. It's it's quite an intense game. So
Is Serious Sam? That's the one from last year, right? Or is that from
yes,
a couple years ago?
Serious Sam 4 was released last year. And yeah, no, I got into it, but I kept encountering some issues, like I said, where it would crash. I'm playing it on PC.
Mm.
I don't know if maybe it runs a bit more reliably on consoles or what have you. So yeah,
I
definitely.
I never played a Serious Sam. What is the kind of like world they're throwing you into?
Well, it's just very sort of cheesy, kind of the humor and stuff that you get with the characters. It's very kind of off the wall. I don't know if you've ever played any, like I would say late 90s, early 2000s games where they had that really goofy, edgy sense of humor.
If I said Duke Nukem, would that be accurate or is that too
Yes,
far?
it's well, maybe a little bit too far, but it's in the same vein, where they really, and I was quite pleasantly surprised. I mean, they, you think in this day and age, games like they got to kind of tread carefully on the things that they say and present, but it doesn't take itself seriously, and I think people can sort of forgive it for just being kind of big and dumb and irreverent
Yeah.
and really just like one of those stupid action movies that you'll see on, like, I don't know, like a very B grade action movie. But it's in terms of gameplay, it's very tight, it's very fast paced, it's so you got to really be wide awake, and you got enemies coming at you from all sides, things
Oh
blowing
man.
up, and it's just wild. So it's, if you feel like something that'll give you a bit of a adrenaline rush, definitely look at Serious Sam. I mean, I know
I'm
it's
looking
not
at
the
I'm looking at some screenshots right now. Some of these enemy types, like one guy looks like he escaped from prison, and another enemy looks like a flying whale ship. Like looks like there's a lot of
that's
diversity going on with the enemies and the bad
yes.
guys.
There is a lot, and the game, periodically throws something new at you and keeps things exciting. I mean, you tend to, like with any game, is you learn sort of the ins and outs of an enemy. This guy's going to shoot rockets at you, so take him out first. But then something completely different will come at you, and you're like, oh my god.
Is it like a sillier Doom? Would you say or would that be not
Yes
accurate?
and no. Yes and no. I think uh, Doom, also, a lot of enemies will come at you in Doom, but I think in Serious Sam, it's just completely on another level. It's just complete mayhem. Where Doom, you are ripping and tearing, and you know, using your melee kills and things like that, which are quite awesome. It's similar, definitely in the same vein, but I think it's a lot more sort of bombastic and a lot more just out there. It
Interesting.
doesn't take itself seriously at all. So
For a game
yeah,
named Serious Sam, it's not very serious.
exactly.
Oh man. Well, is there anything else that you're really playing?
Well, I've also, well, like I said, is Serious Sam. It's quite intense, and so I needed to sort of dial it back a bit, in a way. So I picked up Disco Elysium again. I started playing it last year, but it was right in the beginning of lockdown, and in a way, it's quite a depressing game. Like a
Mm-hmm.
real crapsack world. It's like just everything's really like run
Everything's
down
scummy.
and messed up. But it's so I did get a bit um, overwhelmed by it in a way, because I was you know sitting at home, and things really felt like it was going like apocalyptic in a way.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Thankfully,
too close to real life when you were playing it the first
yes,
time.
in a way. Now I can enjoy it a bit better. So I, I haven't played it in a long time, so getting back into the story and figuring out what the hell I've done and stuff, yeah, that's taking a bit of time. I'm thinking of maybe just starting a fresh save and going from there. But
Are you playing on the vanilla version, or are you playing the director's cut that came out a few months ago?
sadly, just the vanilla version. But yeah, it's still a really good game. So
It's very high up on my list of games I want to play. I haven't made the time for it yet. I'm trying to think of how long I think it is. I think it's like a 20 to 30 hour RPG.
well,
Yeah,
I
let's
don't
look it
know
up real
either.
quick.
I haven't finished.
I know it's
Um,
if you want to play it, you should probably set some time aside for it if you want to see it all the way through.
well, it doesn't seem too bad. I mean, on how long to beat, it says the main story is about 21 hours. So it is not. It's not a one and done game.
Hmm.
But yeah, it can take up a bit of time, but not
It's a
overly so.
game that like rewards replayability as well, right? Like there's so many different text trees and characters that you have different interactions with depending on
Yeah,
how you're playing your character.
definitely. And the choices you make through the game, and there's also stat trees and things like that. So
Hmm.
the way you assign your stats will open up different options and character
Yeah.
interactions. So yeah, it's definitely an well, I guess CRPG type game. If you're into those, a bit slower than what was it? Serious Sam. Definitely
Hmm. Yep.
completely different, but still very good.
Yeah, I really want to play it. Right now, I'm trying to get through the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles that came out
Oh
this
wow,
year. So that's my visual novel of choice at the moment. But
that's
once I
the
get
remake of all the. Is it? If I'm not mistaken, the remake of all the original Ace Attorney games.
not the original ones, there was two that came out in Japan only, and they came out on
Oh,
the 3DS, I want to say. So we'll say like a decade ago or so, and
yeah,
they just got ported and translated for the rest of the markets this year. So once I get through that, I'd love to dip my toes in Disco Elysium. I don't remember if it won Game of the Year at the Game of the Year or the Game Award show with Keeley. I feel like it might have been Sekiro that year that won.
that may
But
have been yes.
as a big fan of like Charles Bukowski, it seems like Disco Elysium is kind of taking one of his worlds and turning it into a video game. So I
Could
definitely
be.
want to get into there very soon. Um, yeah, I'm not really playing much else. Like I said, I beat No More Heroes, Kana, still doing some Metroid.
Oh,
I'm
okay. I was about to ask how far
yeah.
you are with old Samus.
Since last week, I have made a bit of progress, not too much. I'm probably at the 2/3 mark yet, or at the moment. And the only reason I didn't bring it up at the beginning is because my thoughts haven't really changed. I still think it's amazing. I'm loving every moment. Once I roll credits, I might have a stronger final opinion of it. But right now, it's just like it's still living rent free in my head. I still want to be
Okay.
playing it at all times, and I'm hoping to hopefully play some Back for Blood this week.
Yes, I've been really contemplating picking that up as well.
I've been trying to arrange a night with my friends to play, and that's the hardest part is to find a time that works for everyone. Because I know that if you play single player, any progress you make in solo does not carry over to multiplayer.
Oh no.
So I'd rather not waste my time single player, and I'd rather just get some friends, some beer one night, and just kind of have a good time
Yeah,
killing
definitely
zombies.
like Left 4 Dead is it's a game you want to play with your friends, like the whole LAN vibe and
I want to like collaborate on our mission. I want to talk through like, okay, you go here, you go here. You're gonna be the sniper. Like, I want it to be a team game if possible.
well, very much is and I think that's you're missing out on half of the fun if you don't play it with other people.
Yep, I totally agree. So that's a wrap on the games we're playing. Hopefully we'll have more next week. Like I said, between Back for Blood and I think Deathloop, I'll have some new
Deathloop
thoughts.
looking good.
Yeah. So we're gonna
Well,
pivot into our news for the week. and there's quite a bit of news this week. Starting with Nintendo, uh, they dropped a focused direct for Animal Crossing, announcing their big 2.0 update, which is 2.0 is accurate because it feels like they're just dropping another game inside of a game right
There's a
now.
whole bucket load of new content that they've just announced. So
Were you big into New Horizons last year
I
or?
I actually was, and I still pick it up now and again. So a lot of the content that they're dropping, I think there is a paid DLC, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of new content that they just, here you go.
Yeah, yeah. There's
So
a free DLC and a paid DLC. We'll cover the free DLC stuff first. The highly rumored Brewster in the Roost. That's a place where you can grab coffee and drink coffee with your favorite villagers. That is going to be back. Also, I should say all of this stuff drops on November 5th. So grab a marker, mark your
that's right
calendar.
around the corner.
It's very soon. So yeah, with the free DLC, you'll have the Roost. Cap'n is coming back, as well as Katrina, Tortimer, a lot of the old kind of fan favorites from the previous games. They're also adding gyroids back into the game, which, for those of you who don't know, they're kind of like random fire extinguisher looking things that you can find on your island. And there's many different kinds of them, and each one will make a different sound. So essentially, if you find 4 or 5 of them and put them in your house, you can kind of create your own melody or
Oh wow.
um, annoying like chorus of voices if you prefer. So honestly, like it's a lot of stuff that has been in previous Animal Crossing games, as well as some new stuff, including like small details. Like if you want to work out with your villagers, you can work out with your Joy Cons. You can do arm movements with motion
Oh wow.
controls, and you can invite your whole town to the plaza for a workout session, and then there you can work out with them as well.
Oh,
Nothing too
that's
intense, nothing like Ring Fit Adventure, but um,
it's.
go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I just remember Nintendo. Wow, this was still um, Iwata days. They were talking about going in that direction where they just want to add more. Get their custom. Well, what is the word? Consumers or whatever
Yeah.
players more active, and they were coming out with yeah, all these fitness gimmicks, and it's nice to see them bringing that into a game that you generally would just chill on the
Yeah.
couch and have that. So
And like I said, it's nothing like too crazy. You're not like going to be doing planks with your villagers. You're not going to be doing any squats. Like it's really light stuff, but it's very chill. Like Animal Crossing is always being about very chill and casual. And these are workouts you could probably do on the couch without standing up if you wanted
probably
to. But it's still like these little small details. It's just the more things they put in Animal Crossing, the more likely it is for me to turn it back on.
well, I'll definitely be there on November 5th and check out the new free content, and that might even sell me on buying the paid DLC as well. Probably that's what they're going for,
Hmm.
because that FOMO that you get. There's all this extra content, but it's there.
The
But
one last thing with the free updates I want to say before we talk about the paid DLC. They're adding ordinances, which for it means that if you usually play the game early in the morning, but you play at 6 a.m. and none of your villagers are awake and there's nothing to do, you can set an ordinance that will wake everyone up in your town at a certain time so that they're early risers. That way, they're more likely
okay, wow.
to be awake and active when you're playing. If you're somebody who works during the day and usually plays the game at night, you can set a nighttime ordinance so that they're more likely to be out and active at nighttime. And that's cool. That's neat.
Oh wow, that's yeah. Because I tend to mostly because I work. I jump on at like 7, 8 o'clock at night, and everyone's asleep, and there's not really a lot to do or a lot of characters to interact with. So that's going to
Yeah.
be the feature that I'd really get a lot of mileage out of, I think.
Yeah. You can start having them kind of adjust around your schedule instead of you trying to, be there for the big event at 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. or
Mm.
whatever time they do their things. So a lot of free content coming out. There's also paid DLC called Happy Home Paradise, and it looks like it's going to be 24.99 US to pick up when it comes out.
That's not
And
bad.
for it's not the worst. For anybody familiar, they made a 3DS game called Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer a few years ago,
Oh, okay. I
and this
remember that.
DLC seems to be an expansion of that concept. Where Happy Home Designer was you talk to a villager, they tell you what they want the inside of their house to look like, and you would interior decorate the wallpaper, the carpet, the couches, everything together.
Hmm.
The new DLC for New Horizons appears like there's going to be a giant island where you can build like multiple homes for your villagers, and then you'll be able to decorate the inside, the outside. It looks very cool. What do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah. Well, I think that I had a bit of fun, especially getting new characters and things, and you setting up homes for them. I think that's some people might really enjoy that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And yeah, you probably get a whole bunch of. I think you do get a whole bunch of new recipes and items and wallpapers and things to play around with. So you can also, take that back to your island probably and
Yep.
really, yeah, jazz things up and
One of the other big things they're adding now is you can build walls inside of rooms,
inside of
which
rooms.
doesn't sound that impressive, but when you think about it and look at it, like, so you have your main living room when you walk inside your house, you can now put a wall down the middle and turn it into like a half kitchen, half dining room. You can now like turn rooms inside of rooms kind of thing. Um, so a lot of these updates are just seeming like they're going to add so much more tools for the creative players, which I'm not one of those people per se. When I'm playing Animal Crossing, I'm not usually in my house. I'm out looking for fossils and
Yeah,
fish and
and
stuff.
bugs and
Exactly. But having
well,
these tools available is going to be great.
yeah. Well, one of the things I really enjoyed about Animal Crossing was, well, especially when everyone was playing it, is making new friends and visiting people's islands and just seeing what people had created. I mean, it was really a great experience, and that
Hmm.
really, yeah. I remember watching meteor showers and shooting stars and enjoying the full moon with my friends.
Yeah.
I got friends in England and stuff, and it was really like almost just being there with them and sharing, moments, and it was really neat.
And I
So
think I haven't heard many people talking about Animal Crossing New Horizons recently. I feel like a lot of the fan base has kind of moved on, but there is enough content with the free and the paid DLC that I could see myself booting up my console and maybe putting another 100 hours into the game because of this content.
well, it's almost like going off on a tangent here, but I did speak about playing No Man's Sky last week, and often
Mhm.
what happens with that game is when they drop a new big DLC, is you see a whole bunch of new players coming in and a whole bunch of the old players returning to see what's going on, and
Yeah.
so we might have the same sort of effect with Animal Crossing.
Especially a game like this, that this game was a console seller. Like when the pandemic began last year and people needed something to do, people were out buying Switches and Animal Crossing. That seemed like the number one
I
thing.
remember the the drought of Switches
Even
around
like
that time, and
even people who normally don't play games, like grandparents, and like they were looking for something to do, and they were playing with Isabel and getting robbed by Tom Nook whenever they could.
mm,
Um,
well,
but
whenever he could.
whenever he could, exactly. But I see a lot of people grabbing their Switches again for this DLC, and I could see a lot of my friends being like, "Hey, do you want to come hang out on my island again? Do you want to come, uh, you know, decorate a house with me or something like that?" So
Yeah, it's a very social game, and yeah, it was that much needed chill factor that I think most people were really looking for. Just
a lot,
something.
yeah, everyone was very stressed out, and Animal Crossing was like the safe, cozy, unless you were like stressed out about like bills and it's weird how Animal Crossing works because it's real life in a nutshell where you're paying debt and you are doing sometimes stressful things, but in a very relaxing way.
Speaking of online, we should probably also get to talking about the new Nintendo online pricing that they've
Yes.
also recently announced.
So
So
we just talked about the Animal Crossing DLC costing, I think I said $25 for the Happy Home Paradise. Yeah, $25. Also in the Animal Crossing Direct, Nintendo thought it'd be a great time to announce the new pricing for their online service. which is going to be more than double of what it is right now. Right now, most people are paying about $20 US. It's going to about, I make sure I don't misquote this.
I think it's
It's
about 50
about 50, so
for
more than double.
one person. So, family. Well, quoting this VentureBeat article,
Mhm.
yeah, 50 for a single person, 80 for the family membership.
So right now, $20 gets you NES games, SNES games, free games like Tetris 99 and Mario 35, as well as the ability to play online. For more
Yeah,
than double the price, so we're going up to $50. Or sorry, what was the price?
fifty
Uh,
dollars if
yeah,
you're one person.
going to $50, they're adding a few N64 games. They're adding a few Sega Genesis games, and it will come with the DLC for Animal Crossing as well.
Oh, okay.
Um, Mark, do you want to
The Happy
pay
Home Paradise.
Happy
Is
Home
that
Paradise? Yeah. So if you
okay?
pay the $50 a month, then you'll get the N64, Sega, and Animal Crossing DLC. Is that enticing to you at all?
To be honest, not really. Like, first, I've got a couple questions about this. Is now
Yeah.
if I only get this month to month, is do I still have that Happy Home Paradise, or does that fall away with my Sega Genesis and my N64?
That's a good question.
And also, yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot. I know a lot of people will be very excited to play. I think some of the games they announced was Majora's Mask and Mario 64. And okay, I'm not overly concerned about the Genesis games. I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
good ones on that platform, but to me, it's not really that exciting. I suppose maybe down the road, if there's a N64 game or something that I'd really like to play, yeah, maybe I'll get it for a month or so. But
And like
to be
you're
honest,
saying, games like Majora's Mask and even like Banjo Kazooie, which I think was announced for it as well, these games have already been revisited and updated. And what we're getting with the online plan is the original N64 games. There are no quality of life updates. These are just the original from the late 90s, early 2000s games. Majora's Mask, if I ever want to replay it, I'm going to grab my 3DS and play that 3DS version of it. Um,
absolutely.
Mario 64, they just released a new version of that with the Mario All Stars collection last year with the Mario 64 Sunshine and Galaxy 3 pack.
Well, I just want to try find a list of all the games that they've announced so we can.
Yeah, I was looking for that too. That should have been part of the article I posted for us.
Yeah.
But
Um,
a lot of the games that they're even on the Sega side, like I'm pretty sure like there's a Sonic 2 or 3 in there, I imagine. I can play that
yes.
on a Sega collection that has like 16 other games on it on my Switch for like $15. And that's not a monthly payment. That's like one time only and I own the game.
Well, it really depends on the individual, I guess. We're looking at mostly Mario games: Mario Tennis, Yoshi's Story,
Mhm.
Win Back Covert Operations, which I haven't heard of. Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, which is cool. I mean, there
Yeah,
are
that's
some
good.
cool games, but
Even like Star Fox though, like there's that Star Fox 64 on the 3DS, and I think that's just a better version of that game now. Um, Sin and Punishment's cool because that game, well, at least in North America, was never released. So it's cool that more people can try that if they never had the chance to before. Um, I'm also like not excited about what would be down the line of what's to come for N64 because Nintendo has been updating their NES and their SNES service for the last couple of years, and not with games that seem to excite anybody. Um,
there's
the
definitely
SN,
still a lot
yeah,
of games I'd like to see on those services that just haven't materialized.
the SNES one specifically, like they keep releasing these kind of third party games that no one's heard of, but we still don't have Earthbound. We still
We
don't
still don't have
have Chrono
Chrono
Trigger.
Trigger.
Chrono
Yes.
Trigger.
Please, Nintendo.
So
If you're
like
listening.
if I'm paying for N64 online, like I'm gonna be really upset if they announce, oh, we're now releasing A Bug's Life and Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. Like, I'm not gonna feel very good about paying for that service if they're releasing those kind of games.
Well, I think a lot of the games that you'd really want the service for are probably Nintendo's first party games. But like you said, they've re-released and updated, and you
Hmm.
probably have a 3DS laying somewhere with Majora's Mask or
Yeah.
what have you.
So the one kind of cool thing about all of this is that similar to the NES and the SNES games, they're adding online play to the
Oh,
N64 games. So you hopefully should be able to play Mario Kart 64 online without lag or interference. And that's kind of neat. Is it $30 more than what I'm already paying? Neat. I don't think so. Um, but there will be online play, which is neat.
well, that's always a bonus, especially in this day and age where people are still a bit you know socially isolated sometimes, depending where you are in the world. I mean, where I am, things have mostly gone back to normal, but
Yeah.
yeah, still cool to jump online and I don't know if they can match you with random players, or
I don't think
I don't know
so.
if that's a thing.
I think it's probably only through people you have on your friends list on the Switch, is my guess. What about the Sega games? Any of the Sega games kind of pique your interest?
Well, Echo the Dolphin's cool. I mean, they've also got um Castlevania, and like you predicted, Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage. No, I was just going to say, like some of these games are like also really cool games that
Hmm.
I'd love to revisit. And there's also, yeah, a lot of other games on the Genesis that, I'm sure they'll, pad out the libraries on both of these services in time. So,
Yeah,
but
like you were saying, I think Castlevania is really good. Contra, Fantasy Star, like there are some good games here. The one game that caught my eye, I didn't see it the first time, but they're including a game called Musha with the Genesis lineup. And
Musha,
Musha. I used to work at a
yeah,
used video game store, and we had a physical copy of this game at one point that we sold for $1,000.
wow,
Yeah, I'm looking at eBay right now, and I'm seeing complete in box going for about 1,500 Canadian.
that's
Um,
insane.
so that's cool that they got that game because most collectors or most people who want to play it could only do it through the cartridge, which was about half a year's worth of income to buy. Or not half a year, like 4 weeks, but
It's
whatever.
insane. Well, to be honest, I haven't even heard of this game. It looks like
I think it's a shmup, right? It's a
yeah, like a bullet hell shmup type vibe.
yeah.
Hmm.
So we'll see. At the moment, I don't think I'm paying the extra money day one for this service. I think I want to see what they do with it. And I also would like more games like Tetris 99 or Mario 35 to be released more frequently because I think those are really cool one
Absolutely.
offs. I still play Tetris 99 very often. Mario 35, not so much, but
Yeah, I really got into Tetris 99 as well, and I still also load it up once in a while. It's
yeah.
just a nice twist on the old formula. I mean, yeah, we can't go wrong with Tetris. Everyone loves Tetris.
And it's one of those games where I think I have 70 hours into it and I have not won a single Tetris match. I was never born or I didn't play a lot of Tetris growing up. This is very new to me. But the fact that I'm 70 hours in and I still haven't won, but I still want to keep playing is usually a pretty
Yeah,
good sign for
it's
a game.
well,
Um
yeah, more of that, please, Nintendo.
uh Pivoting away from Nintendo for a bit, I know a bit about our next news item, but I think you'll be probably explaining most of it to me. Um, so I guess EA
well,
is losing the FIFA license, or possibly losing their license to FIFA.
well, it sounds like from this article I'm reading on PC Gamer, it's yeah, it sounds like FIFA's moving away. They're taking their license elsewhere, and that's a real big shakeup. I mean, EA's had the FIFA license for probably the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big shakeup. I remember playing, EA's FIFA games on the PS2 back in the day. So
Hmm.
like, I'm not that into them anymore. It's still cool to sit down with some mates and a couple beers or whatever and play some FIFA. That's
Hmm.
a nice, it's a couch, well, not co-op, but competitive game to play with friends. But it's not something I'd go out and buy year in and year out. I know there are people that do. Big fans of the FIFA and football in general, but
Yep.
it's quite a big loss for EA, and I'm sure it's going to take a chunk out of their revenue. But
Because I believe what I read was that FIFA wanted, because they have a contract they do every 5 years or so, and I believe their current contract is coming to an end. And what I'd heard is that FIFA wants to double the amount of money that EA pays them for the license, which EA is maybe hesitant to do, despite the fact they make millions off this franchise every year.
there was also, yeah, that not only that, I think there was also, I don't know how bad it is now, a bit out of touch, but there were a lot of like sort of microtransactions and things that they made money off of, and
Mm-hmm.
like buying booster packs to get specific football players, and it's kind of like loot boxes almost. Well, yeah, loot boxes by another name.
And I believe 100% of that money goes to EA. Like, I don't think FIFA gets a cut of the loot boxes. I think that's just an EA
Probably
thing.
not.
And I think FIFA may have wanted a share of that as well in their negotiations.
Well, yeah, the basically comes down to yeah, like you said, FIFA apparently wanted too much money, and EA just wasn't prepared to. It's quite, yeah, it must have been a real gamble on their part. They probably were like,
I feel like
the competitors. Yeah, you get like Ubisoft that. No, sorry, it's not Ubisoft. It's Konami, I think, with their
Mhm.
Pro Evolution Soccer. Yeah, but that never really had such a big fan base as FIFA.
Well, even like back in the day, like PS2, even like PS3, Xbox 360 era, there's more FIFA spin-offs. Like I think it was FIFA Underground, which was more of like a street football or street soccer kind
Yeah,
of vibe. I used to always like those ones. I never liked the actual titular FIFA games, but I always liked the
yeah,
kind of
it's a bit too.
spin-off.
Well, yeah, I think there's also NBA games like that I enjoy. I mean, I don't really know a hell of a lot about basketball, but I mean, the idea of somebody who doesn't know that much about it,
Mhm.
like to play something more casual and accessible, and
Yeah, more arcadey than like
yeah,
simulation style.
exactly, that's it.
I'm also like with EA, like if they lose FIFA, it's good to keep in mind that they've also lost the Star Wars license over the last
Yes,
year.
I nearly forgot about that.
S-
Yeah,
So whatever like original properties EA had, even like sports or other media like Star Wars, they're really losing their grasp on that stuff, and I wonder how it affects the company moving forward.
it sounds like a lot's happening behind the scenes, because if I think the last game they did was Jedi Fallen Order,
Hmm.
and a lot of people really enjoyed that game, but maybe it was too little, too late, because I know a lot of my friends that enjoy Star Wars, and that's like everyone.
Yeah,
They were basically getting to the point where I think it was Battlegrounds, or I can't remember what came before Fallen Order, but it was all online. It was, they wanted a more story-driven game without
Battlefront
any.
or
Yeah, Battlefront 2, I think it
hmm
was.
that was the big
That,
controversial one that had like the very expensive loot boxes and pay to win
yes, yes,
options.
yes. And they try to make up for that in a way, or seemingly, with Fallen Order, but
Hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah, fortunately, they will still have Fallen Order 2 under their belt. And also, in terms of where EA might be going, they have been dropping more of their EA originals. Like It Takes Two was from them this year, the new Joseph Fares game, as well as Lost in Random, which is like kind of a creepy Tim Burton esque looking game. So they are doing more almost indie projects than just AAA all the time. So I wonder if they'll look for more independent creators to give them a platform to work on.
well, not only that is they also have a lot of well, I speak under correction, but they do have a lot of franchises under their belt that they could do a lot more with. So much.
Um,
Yes, it is Electronic Arts that they have BioWare. They've got, I think, Bullfrog as well.
okay.
Bullfrog. I don't know if you ever played any of their games.
I don't think so. I don't think I've heard of them.
That was wow. Yeah, it is. In fact, they are releasing a new. I think it's part of the popular series, but no, yeah.
Yeah.
Disregard
Well,
that. But games like Dungeon Keeper, I think also, yeah, there's quite a few that were really good under um, Bullfrog that uh, they just didn't do well with.
Mm.
Like Dungeon Keeper, particularly, they did a really crappy mobile game, and it was just like a slap in the face to
Oh
diehard
God.
fans.
Oh man. But yeah, EA looks like they might be losing the FIFA license, but they'll probably retain some of their other sport ones. Like I know they just released the new NHL game, which I've been hearing good things about. I think that contract still stands for a bit. So Madden, I think, is still theirs for a bit. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens over the next few years. Um, we also wanted to talk about just Game Pass in general. They just announced some of the new games coming out for the rest of the month and kind of the next few weeks. And we wanted to kind of just talk about how great Game Pass has been and is going to be for the next little while.
Well, Game Pass, I've subscribed to the service. I don't have an active subscription, but I might be renewing it this month because there's a lot to be excited about. But yeah, they've got a whole whack of games over the past year. Like one standout for me was the Yakuza series.
Yes, yeah.
And they've just added, I think they only had a few at first, but now they've pretty much got them all. And
Yeah, all the Yakuza.
just so much. But this month, yeah.
Yeah, this month
But
there's a lot
yeah,
coming out. Outriders is finally coming to PC, which I've been wanting to play for a while. I heard mixed things about Outriders when it was first announced, but if it's going to be on Game Pass, I'm down to play it right
you can
away.
try it out.
Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which is a really good fighting game.
That's I think only on console though, and cloud. Unfortunately,
Oh, you're right.
for PC players.
Yeah, only on console and cloud for that one.
I haven't heard of Echo Generation, so maybe I should have. But
that's I think that's a top-down, turn-based RPG from a new developer. I'm gonna try that one out. It looks like it kind of looks like Stranger Things inspired. I also want to shout out the game Backbone is coming to console. You were talking about Disco Elysium earlier.
Yes.
I'd say Backbone is like a bite-sized Disco Elysium. I reviewed it for KeenGamer earlier this year.
Oh, really?
It's about 5 hours long, and you play a detective in this world full of anthropomorphic animals. So you're a raccoon detective, and you smoke cigarettes, and you drink alcohol, and it's very Disco Elysium inspired. You're doing dialogue trees as well, where you will ask somebody a question, and then you'll have 5 different options of how to respond. You can be cocky, you can be nice, you can be arrogant, you can be you can build your character up in so many different ways, and the world will kind of react to you based on your reputation. So if you're an asshole to everybody, the world's going to treat you like that. If you're nice and considerate, people will maybe try and take advantage of that, but at the same time, so Backbone's very cool. I recommend checking it out if you haven't. And I'm also really looking forward to the Forgotten City as well.
I've heard lots of good things about the Forgotten City. Isn't it like a sort of puzzle game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a time loop game similar to like Outer Wilds or every single time loop game that's come out in the last year and a half.
Is that the one where you're trying to figure out who killed you, or so, there's a murder? Also, yeah, I think I know about this one.
So it's inspired by a famous mod from Skyrim. So the team that made Forgotten City, they've created a mod like this for Skyrim, and then they eventually just spun it out into their own game. But from what I know, you live in this city, and they have a bunch of weird rules. And I think it's the day of your death, and I haven't played it yet, so that's why I'm saying I think a lot right now. But you have to solve a murder mystery within X amount of time. And if you don't solve it, then you kind of go back to the beginning and you do the loop again and you try and get more clues.
I did see the trailer for this last year sometime, or may have been this year, but it did look really good. I think it is basically trying to solve your murder or somebody else's. I'm not entirely sure, but
I like that we don't know as much as we might or we should. Like, I'm really looking forward to going into this game blind and like not really knowing exactly what the premise or what my purpose is in it.
But I think it's also got a lot of, from what I saw of it, it's got a lot of different choices and that innate replayability because it is a time loop game. But
Hmm.
it did look very compelling from what I saw of
Yeah.
it.
No, I think Game Pass has just really been killing it the last few months, and I think they're going to continue to kill it in the future, especially once we see Microsoft recently acquired a bunch of studios and developers, and once we see games like Forspoken and Starfield, and
Starfield.
once we see these like really big AAA Microsoft titles available for $12 a month, like Netflix, then like I think Game Pass is going to be booming.
It's a no-brainer. I mean, for me, is if I had to buy, I don't. Well, besides my Nintendo Switch, I don't own a console at the moment. And if I were
Mhm.
to buy one, I'd probably buy the Xbox Series S because I don't really want to buy the Series X at the moment. I mean, I can't justify it, but if I had to buy one today, it would be the Series S, and I'd just get
Mm.
Game Pass and be done with it, and
I
probably
uh
be very happy.
I had a friend who has been with Sony since PS3, so they were PS3 and PS4. But when the time came to buy a new console, they were like, "Do I do PS5 or Xbox Series X?" And it eventually was like Game Pass that pushed them towards Xbox because they were like, "I could play the big Sony release 3 times a year when they drop their Death Strandings and their God of Wars, or I could have this like infinite library of games I can pick up and play for 5 minutes. I don't need to drop $80 per game to play
Just to
it.
try it out. Yeah.
I can try it out. If I don't like it, I can dip out. I can, hop in No Man's Sky for half an hour. Then I can hop into Gears of War, which is a very subtle transition. But no, I
Well,
think game. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say another big one that's I think it's actually dropping on its release day is Age of Empires 4,
Hmm.
which is
Um, I believe Age of Empires 4, Halo Infinite, as well as the new Forza.
pretty much every big Microsoft game
Yeah,
coming up is dropping straight to Game Pass, which is incredible value. It's
incredible. And I'm someone who never owned Xbox. Like I've always been Nintendo, and then I went to Sony. But having Game Pass available on PC as well is such a great way for Microsoft to introduce someone like me to their games without having to buy a $700 console to play them.
absolutely.
Um, so Game Pass is still killing it. They're going to keep killing it. I think last night or yesterday, they finally announced that God of War from 2018, which we talked about last week and you said you had not played, is now coming to PC. Is that going to
Well,
help?
I still haven't played it, and yeah, this might change things. I mean, it really is one of the games that when it came out, everyone was talking about it. I mean, the visuals looked incredible. The story, well, from what I know of it, it looked like a great game. That the only limitation for me was I don't own a PlayStation, so
Yeah.
and you kind of sit there and you see all the memes and the people on the internet talking about it, and you really want to be part of that conversation.
Hmm.
But and while that conversation, the initial excitement about it might be over, it's still a game I would like to experience. I did play the God of War games, back on like PS2, and then I went to Xbox 360 after that.
Yeah.
But I would like to try it out, depending on pricing and what have you. It
Yeah.
is
So
dropping next year on January 14th.
yes. And so I think they made the announcement yesterday, and then after an hour, it was the number one game on the Steam page.
Oh
Like
wow!
the pre-orders for God of War have surpassed any current sales of any game right now on Steam.
Well, it's really one of the biggest Sony exclusives that, yeah, it's never been on a PC unless you, I don't know, emulated it or whatever. Which,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um
it's just
I think it's great that Sony is doing this. I think that they are only helping themselves by putting their games on PC. From Horizon Zero Dawn to I guess Death Stranding was a P or a Sony exclusive for a bit there.
it was,
Um,
yes.
but they are getting their games out to more people and only helping in the hype, especially games like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn that have sequels on the way. Like, this is good marketing for people to get into 2018's God of War. That way, when Ragnarok drops, even if it's like a year and a half before it comes to PC after its release, there's going to be an audience clamoring for it.
Well, there's it's turned into almost like timed exclusives because we've been seeing more and more of Sony's games coming to PC, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. And like you said, is it's going to build excitement and people that it might encourage people to actually go and pick up a PlayStation so they can play them. I mean, I don't know how dependent they are on hardware these days. I mean, Sony is a massive company. They don't just make Sony PlayStation. They make all sorts of different things. It's a huge corporation, but maybe they are sort of leaning towards opening up their platform a bit. So, yeah, I
And I
mean,
think, I mean, at this point, the only company not doing it is Nintendo. Like, as we were just talking about, Microsoft has all their games on PC. Sony's slowly letting their games on PC. I wonder how inevitable it is until we see Mario Odyssey 2 on Steam.
I think Nintendo is very always been very slow to get with the times. I mean, even we are digressing a bit, but if you look at their online services and it's very sort of almost primitive, and the interactions you can have with other players are very sort of limited as
Hmm.
well. So
I always feel like at Nintendo head office or something, or whatever building has all the employees, they must have all gaming news websites blocked. Like, I feel like
probably,
they never know what the current trend is. I mean, the Switch OLED just came out 2 weeks ago, and is that the first Nintendo console to have a built-in LAN adapter? I think so, because the
it
original Switch
maybe
doesn't have
yes.
one. You have to buy a separate hub for it. But and of
Yeah,
course,
it's like a
voice
USB thing you plug in, I
dongle.
think.
Yeah. And of course, like, they're still so behind on voice chat and, like you're saying, the online service. I wanted to talk about it when we were talking about their pricing, but $50 for Nintendo Online is very close to what you pay for Sony or Xbox's service. And Sony will at least give you a relatively new game for free for their pricing. But
Yeah,
Nintendo's like, oh no, here's a game from 25 years ago. Enjoy.
and
Um,
it's not really yours to keep either. You
mhm.
cancel your subscription, you sadly lose that. Xbox is also very good with that, but I mean, they'll catch up one day, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
But
never.
yeah, God of War on PC, like I said, the specs look amazing. It's going to run 4K, uncapped frame rates, widescreen support, you name it. If you have a very expensive PC, you'll be playing a very, very pretty version of my game of the year from 2018. Um, so that's it for God of War on PC. We have one last news item of the day. Moments before we went live to record this, I think an hour, maybe 90 minutes ago, they dropped the reveal trailer for Uncharted starring Tom Holland.
Well,
Um, Go ahead.
we were just talking last week about video game
Hmm.
movies,
We were.
and I think we might sing a bit of a different tune this time around. I don't know about you, but where a Fortnite movie that we spoke about last week
Yeah.
might seem like just a big, ad. I mean, I think Uncharted movie is a hell of a lot more um, interesting, and I might even go and watch it.
Yeah. I'm I'll be honest, after watching the trailer, my enthusiasm is not very high. I feel like Tom Holland as Nathan Drake is not great casting. It's casting Tom Holland for the sake of Tom Holland. I feel like there's so many other people I would have liked to see in this role. I'd also like to say Mark Wahlberg as Sully isn't really doing it for me. He doesn't even have like the mustache or gray hair at all.
No, that's also true, but I mean,
I mean, I'm going to see this movie for sure. I'm just curious about if it's more of a marketing machine for the Uncharted series or if it's going to be a good Uncharted movie.
well, I guess that remains to be seen. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the series, but I know a lot of people are really into it, and I've played a bit of it, but yeah, I'll check it out personally. Like, I don't mind an Uncharted movie.
Hmm.
To me, it's definitely, if I had to choose Fortnite or Uncharted, I mean, you're seeing a lot more video game kind of media coming out. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, you've got Netflix on, well, The Witcher on Netflix, and you've got
Castlevania and
Castlevania. Yes, if only they'd make a decent game now.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I'm confused as well about what story they're trying to tell in Uncharted because it's supposed to be a prequel. That's why Tom Holland looks like a younger version of Nathan Drake. But they're also showing like iconic scenes from Uncharted 3 in this trailer. Like the scene of him falling out of the plane and his foot stuck on the cargo, like that is just Uncharted 3 right there. So I don't know if they're going to try and do the whole trilogy of the first three games in one movie. Are they only telling the story of three and skipping one and two? Like I'm going to wait. It comes out
well,
February, I believe.
okay. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, February 18th, 2022. Um, yeah, like I said, we'll see. I do want to shout out there was a fan made trailer for Uncharted that had Nathan Fillion playing Nathan Drake, and that to me is like the best casting for that character. So if you haven't yet, look up on YouTube. I think it's like Uncharted 2018 fan movie. It's really well done, and that is
Is it like
more.
a whole feature length, or is it just a trailer?
No, I think it's like 8 minutes.
Okay.
And it stars Nathan Fillion from Castle and Doctor Horrible sing along blog as the lead character. Um,
I
but
mean,
we'll
you
see.
often see these, fan sort of castings where people would say, "Okay, wow, I'd really love this actor to play." I don't know, whoever, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
really, we
I don't know who I'd want to play Nathan Drake over Tom Holland. I just don't think it's Tom Holland.
okay,
Um,
and just not getting the right vibe. But maybe he'll be a good Nathan Drake. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, because if you watch the trailer as well, he has a lot of those same mannerisms that Spider-Man does. That like his character version of Spider-Man with his like kind of quirky one-liners and kind of awkward humor at the same time. I'm just not really. I'm seeing another
not
Tom Holland vehicle, not like a Nathan Drake. Um,
okay. Well,
yeah, that's about it for news. Like I said, there's quite a bit to unpack there. There's more I wanted to cover, but not enough time. I also want to say we were right last week about Greedent. Greedent is officially out in
oh,
Pokemon Unite with their big Halloween reveal. And then
actually,
yeah,
haven't played it in the last couple days. So wow,
I was playing for a bit last night. I did not see a single person playing as Greedent. So
that's
I
kind
think
of sad. I think
I
I'm
think
going to play as
yeah
Greedent tonight, and
yeah
maybe
you
it's cool.
we talked about it last week where like he might not be the most recognizable Pokemon, but I'll be curious to see what his attacks are and stuff. They also announced more No Man's Sky DLC as well. They announced their first piece
Really?
of narrative DLC. Um,
Hmm.
and you're going to go to a planet and there's going to be sandworms similar to Dune.
Oh
That
yes, it's a new expedition. It's called Emergence or something like that. I think.
yeah, I read it as like it's going to be their first narrative DLC. It sounds like there's a story happening that you'll be exploring as well, which is kind of cool. But that's it for news for the week. We
Hmm.
want to end the episode. We did Metroidvanias. Mark and I wanted to talk about some of our favorite music in video games. Um, Obviously, I think a video game can be really good, but it can't be great without a phenomenal soundtrack. I think that if you play a game like even God of War 2018, if that soundtrack wasn't as good as it was,
It wouldn't
it's not as
really
good of an
be.
experience.
Well, I guess I just have to say that when I first started playing video games, I think one of the things that's always stuck with me when I really enjoy a game is, bits and pieces of the soundtrack. Like going back to like NES days when,
Mm-hmm.
playing Super Mario, everyone remembers like the theme song and, there's, but what really got me into like video game music was I think like my first couple Final Fantasy games. I
Mm-hmm.
remember playing Final Fantasy VIII for the first time, and that opening cutscene with that it was almost orchestral piece. It was insane, and just I'd never really thought a game could sound so good. You know,
Especially that transition from like SNES to PS1, where we were going from 16-bit music to Final Fantasy 7 with like almost
To
full
CD
full
quality,
orchestras. Yeah,
it
and like
was quite a
arrangements that you never thought you would hear in a video game. And like for me personally, I played a lot of NES and SNES games, and I remember obviously music from Mario World and Yoshi's Island. But for me, music didn't have an impact until N64, where I have memories of like booting up Ocarina of Time, and
and actually
Link
playing the ocarina and
playing the ocarina, but like just the opening theme as the opening movie plays, it's like Link riding Epona over a hill. The music starts playing. It's also fully orchestrated, which is fantastic. Even like playing Smash Bros for N64, like it has such a fun, jaunty tune to it that to this day, like I can close my eyes, I can think of those songs.
actually, now that you bring up Smash Bros, one of my favorite features on the 3DS version, I don't know if it's really there on the new one. I think it is, but where you could just go listen to all the soundtracks, the music, and there was some really great stuff in there. Like one of my favorites was one of the Zelda soundtracks, Gerudo Valley. I think was really
Yes.
cool. Um, it was just I could just sit and listen to the music, just put on some headphones, and do what I was doing, and just sit and
Uh,
listen to.
Smash Ultimate has a really cool feature where you can plug your headphones into your Switch. You can go to music and you can choose Gerudo Valley or whatever song you want. You can put your Switch in sleep mode and it will still play the music through your headphones. So
That's
you can like shuffle it like an iPod and just listen to,
wow.
okay, I'm listening to a song from Kid Icarus. Now I'm listening to a song from Minecraft because that's in there for some reason. Um, there's more official music in Smash Ultimate than there is on Spotify, which is crazy.
Wow,
One
that's
thing as
insane.
well, I wish that Nintendo would put their soundtracks on Spotify.
Oh,
That's
please, Nintendo.
that's the thing I've
They're
been
not
wanting for
listening.
so long, but they have no ears. Um,
Well, at least other companies like I think Square Enix, they've got a much better head in the game with that. Is I think you can go on there and listen to like Final Fantasy soundtracks
yep.
and
I think Square and Sega are the two because even Sega I think recently uploaded a lot of their Persona music and a lot of songs from Yakuza and games like that. So, which I'm looking at my list now, I cannot believe I don't have Persona 5 on my 3. But you went first last time. I'll go first this time. Um, and you know what? This is like a pretty general top 3 for me. If I sat down, looked behind me, and really thought about the music that was the most influential, I might have a different list. This is like my gut feeling top 3.
okay.
So number 3, I put down Splatoon. I
Splatoon.
I think Splatoon,
Oh well,
if you haven't listened to it, it is like its own genre of music that is
it is.
unlike.
It's like that.
It's
I know
like
exactly what you're talking about.
what I was thinking about comparing it to is kind of like K-pop, but it's more like a K-punk, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if K-punk is a genre, but it's got very fast Vocaloid lyrics, I guess you would say. But it also has like fast drum beats, incredible like synth sections, guitar solos. Like when you're playing a match of Splatoon, which I think is usually around 5 minutes, there's like a party happening the entire time while you're doing it.
Well, that's one thing I loved about Splatoon. I only played Splatoon 2, but the
Mhm.
music was really good, and it was just so like weirdly stylish and almost it had a bit of a kind of I don't know, very underground kind of cool. I don't know how to describe it, but it
Yeah,
just had such a cool feel to it.
and that's what I
And
was trying to say. Like, it's so unique. Like, it is in the world of video game music and music in general. Like, I don't know who's making music like this and releasing it on records or CDs. Like, it's very colorful. Like the game it's from. The music itself is like it's like getting blasted in the face by a pink paint machine.
well, we do also have Splatoon 3 on the way, so we can look forward to more of the same. I hope, or
Yeah,
actually
there's
even better
a
stuff.
trailer. There's a trailer for Splatoon 3, and the music in the trailer is already evocative of like, oh man, what are they going to do this time? Is there going to be like funk involved? Is there going to be more like reggae style K-punk? I don't know, but go to YouTube, type in 5 hours Splatoon music playlist, and you'll have a good day.
Just, yeah, no, I might just do that. Okay, well, for my choice, I guess I'm just shooting from the hip here because I didn't really think about it too much. There's just so much video game music out there. I'm just going to go with, I would say, like pretty much anything from Chrono Cross.
Mm.
It was one of the first big RPGs I played on PS1 back in the day. And one of the things that really blew me away was just almost the entire soundtrack. Everything was so good. Like, in particular, also the opening movie. I think the song is called Scars of Time or something like that.
Hmm.
It was just so like emotional and kind of earthy, and it had these, almost like and it got so intense, and just the visuals, everything was just incredible. And
And I
from
think,
there,
like I was saying, I don't know if I'm saying this, but like the music for me always has to add to the gameplay. Like if the music exists, that's fine. But the music is adding emotional weight and adding even like flavor text to what you're doing, then that's incredible and powerful. And any composer who can pull that off, like tip my hat to.
well, yeah, absolutely. And I think his name was, I can't remember his name, so I don't really
Hmm.
want to quote him, but I really want to think of it, but I can't. So, but yeah, I think he also was maybe to a lesser extent involved in Chrono Cross, but um, Chrono Trigger as well. Also,
Hmm.
just fantastic.
I wonder if we'll get another Chrono at some point. All right, like I said,
Don't
even
even go there. That's a sore subject, my man.
that's a very
It's,
maybe we'll do a whole topic one episode about just the Chronos and go from
I
there.
think that'd be a good idea. And anyway, there's a lot to talk about with that.
Um, so my number two, um, I think it's weird that my brain went here when I was thinking about my favorite music and games, but Metal Gear Solid, I think, has some of the greatest themes of all time. And I think going back to what I was saying, I think the music in Metal Gear Solid can very often add an emotional weight to what you're doing, whether or not you're fighting the boss at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, or if you're fighting Revolver Ocelot at the end of MGS 4. Something about the score, and especially like to shout out like that Kojima was able to get I want to say his name was Harry Gregson Williams, who is a pretty famous action composer who did music for The Rock, amongst other things. Like when I think of Metal Gear Solid, even like Quiet's theme, there's so many different songs and sections and moments that I go back to. Um, yeah, yeah,
Well, absolutely. I think Kojima definitely had a finger on that pulse that, his game's not going to be what it could be without a really incredible, you know, musical background. It's not just background noise. It's really adds. I mean, if you can you imagine if things were just quiet,
yeah.
and just
But
really
even like
wouldn't.
the other day, I was walking to work and I was humming do 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 do, and I was like, "What is that from again?" I was like, "Oh yeah, Metal Gear, obviously." Like these songs still live rent free in my head. I cannot get them out. I'll clean the house, and next thing I know, I'm humming Quiet's theme. So Metal Gear Solid is my number two.
As for my number two, I had it on the tip of my tongue, and I've hit a blank because I got so excited about Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Um, wow, what was it? Oh, actually, yes, that's what it was. I was thinking of the Tekken series, in particular,
Oh,
uh, Tekken 7. It's also got some really, even like the menu themes, the fighting themes, and I just really loved the sound of that game. I could sit and just listen to the menu theme, or they had a really cool one like for when you were in your character customization. Maybe not my favorite Tekken game ever, but
I
actually, yeah.
I'm blindsided. I didn't think Tekken was coming up in this conversation, but
Well, there's a couple I can maybe point you out to. I think the one I really liked, it was one of the practice stage themes, which was really, you're just wailing away on this dummy or whatever, and I think it was called Geometric Plane, and it was
okay.
just a really cool song to survive, and you just really get into the zone and just wail away at this, practice dummy or whatever. And I just really enjoyed the music from Tekken 7, and I'd highly
Um,
recommend you check out some of it.
well, actually, when they dropped Kazuma in Smash, a few months ago, they of course added a bunch of Tekken songs with him. I think they added like 20 or 25
Oh wow.
songs from across Tekken. And I sat there and I listened to most of those. And no, I definitely see where you're coming from.
Hmm.
Uh, I played a lot of Tekken 4. Like that was my main Tekken back in the day. Um, so I might have to reinstall 7 and listen to some of that because I have it behind me. I just have not played much of it.
Oh, well, yeah, I didn't play as much of it as I wanted to either, because I
Mhm.
mean, I live on the bottom end of the world where, and latency in fighting games is the absolute worst. I can live
Yep.
with League of Legends or whatever, but yeah, fighting games, I just have not been able to play like online or anything because
No.
of latency. Damn it.
Until they add
But
rollback to every game, like until they actually add like good Wi-Fi, so there's no lag during fighting games. Yeah. Even Smash Bros.
well,
Still, I'll hop on occasionally and hop out after one match because the lag is way too bad.
apparently they are installing like a new undersea like huge cable, so maybe that'll
Okay.
improve things when it
Yeah.
eventually happens. But
Fingers crossed.
we'll
So
see.
Tekken was number 2. Okay, I'm listening to more Tekken tonight, that's for sure.
Okay.
So my number 1 favorite soundtrack, and this wasn't even really much of a debate for me. This is like one of my favorite games of all time. Came out in 2017, which is a great year for video games. Near Automata has one of the most magical soundtracks. Um, if you look up, like, they did a live concert of it, and if you go to that live concert footage, like the instruments they use, the vocals they use, at one point a small child comes out to sing a very sad song. But when I talk about music adding emotion to a game, I don't think anything does it as well as Nier does. um it's a very
Well, even
psychological. Yeah, go ahead.
even the first game had some incredible music, but to be honest, I don't think playing it. I paid. Now that the way you're talking about it, I probably didn't pay enough attention to the music. I mean, maybe I
Yeah,
should have
like
put on
it
some
is.
headphones and.
Yes. Well, it is on Spotify. Out of all the soundtracks I'm talking
Oh wow!
about,
Okay.
well, actually, I think Metal Gear Solid has all their stuff on Spotify as well. But Nier Automata is probably just one of the most emotionally moving soundtracks to a game I've listened to. It's diverse. It's both fun and energetic and sad. Sometimes at the same time, the cues, like sometimes a music will sometimes you'll be in an action scene in that game and you'll hear violins, and then you'll get the boss to about half their health, and then suddenly then you hear drums and bass, and then the boss is at the
Yeah.
last quarter, and then you hear and the whole song kicks in and it's vocals and it's sweeping orchestras, and it is such a powerful thing. If you've played Near Automata, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I definitely recommend checking out the soundtrack, or I'd say just go play the game because the game
Well, I'm
is so
gonna have to go back to it now. I mean,
yeah, it's so damn
I-
good.
well, so that's your number one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, yeah, just I've kind of in two minds about this one, but I'm just gonna go with this is a tough one because kind of feels like I'm cheating because I'm going off of something you've said, but
Okay.
back to Metal Gear, but Metal Gear Rising.
Metal Gear Rising.
I absolutely love that game, and I wish they'd make another one
Oh,
like it. I mean, the power, it was just so over the top and powerful. I still listen to that, quite often, and
mhm.
I've even played it to some of my like non-gamer friends, and they're quite amazed. They're like, "Wow, is this from a video game?" I mean,
It shreds. Like that soundtrack just
it really
absolutely
does.
it goes for it.
I was a big metalhead. I've kind of diversified my taste in music, but that's still really such an incredible, um, yeah, experience musically and
Yeah.
memorable. I think
I
anybody who's played it will immediately just, yeah, it's
I
mind
was
blowing
talking
stuff.
about like how I love when music adds like emotional weight. The music in Metal Gear Revengeance doesn't add emotional weight. It just adds like extra layers of coolness to an already cool game.
Yeah, I think even you could even go like take it a step further and say it's just, yeah, I don't know, blows
And like,
shit up, I guess.
and
Well,
also like I think with both Nier and Revengeance, I think they're both soundtracks that stand up very well without the game they're from. No, it's
sorry
all
about
good.
that.
I think with either Metal Gear Revengeance or Nier, you can listen to the soundtracks on Spotify and not even need to play the game to enjoy them, which I think says a lot for them.
Well, absolutely, and there's something in it for everyone. But like speaking of just music in general, I mean, we just had the Tokyo Olympics this year, and I think
Yeah.
yeah, opening ceremony, all the music was from video games, wasn't it?
I think they played a song from Chrono Cross or Chrono Trigger. I think they played a song from Nier Automata.
Yes,
Um,
they had a Nier Automata song.
they did some Final Fantasy. They did they're gonna do Nintendo at one point, but then there was I think some last minute plan changes.
DMCA.
DMCA got him. That's why you gotta be safe. Oh my god. No, Miyamoto just walked into the stadium and said, "Shut it down. We're not playing Mario. No more."
Olympics is cancelled.
Yep. Sorry guys, Miyamoto said we're over. Unless Mario and Sonic are here to participate, there's no Olympics. But that was our episode this week. We talked a lot about games we're playing, a lot of news coming out this week. Those are our recommendations for our favorite music. I'd love to hear from everyone out there what their favorite soundtracks are from games. I'm gonna maybe set up an email address if people want to email us and let us know. But that is the end of the KeenGamer podcast for this week. Next week, we will be back for another episode, and we'll be covering scary games we like to play for Halloween. It's almost that time of
Okay,
year.
well, yay, spooky time.
It's getting spooky, so we're going to have a panel, and I think there should be at least 3 of us next week talking about the games that we enjoy to play with the lights off, curtains closed, headphones on. I'm looking forward to it. I want to hear what everyone else thinks or recommends for their picks. So my name is Kyle. This is Mark. Also, check out keengamer.com. We have lots of good articles, interviews, opinion pieces, previews, you name it. We got it. Mark, thank you so much for joining me again this week.
Thank you, Kyle, for having me.
Of course, everyone, have a good day, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.